Ethan wiped the sweat from his forehead and leaned back against the wall of the cramped docking bay. The station was old, with rusted panels and flickering lights, but it was home for those who worked with their hands. He liked working here. Every day brought a new challenge, and he enjoyed fixing things that others thought impossible. Today, however, would be different. A loud alarm echoed through the bay. A sleek alien ship had just arrived, its engines cooling with a low hum. Ethan glanced up, curious. Alien ships were always fascinating. Their designs were unlike anything humans had built, with smooth surfaces, glowing lines, and engines that seemed alive. Most of the time, aliens brought minor problems, like broken panels or faulty wiring. But this ship was unusual. Its hull was scratched, and smoke leaked from a vent. Someone had clearly been careless. Ethan grabbed his tool belt and hurried over. "Looks like you had a rough landing," he muttered under his breath. He entered the ship's maintenance hatch, squeezing through the narrow corridor. The air smelled strange, metallic, and sweet. He followed the hum of the damaged engine toward the source of the problem. Then he felt a presence. A tall figure stepped out from the shadows. Ethan froze, his hand gripping his wrench tightly. The alien woman was tall, elegant, and had skin that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Her eyes were wide and bright, filled with curiosity and caution. She had a long uniform that hinted at authority, and her posture suggested confidence and readiness. "Human," she said calmly, her voice smooth but commanding. "Your tool is pressed right up against me. Relax, I'm a mechanic." Ethan blinked. He had expected anger, maybe suspicion, but not a casual introduction. He cleared his throat. Sorry. I didn't mean to." He glanced at the tool in his hand, realizing how awkward it must have looked. The alien woman raised an eyebrow. "I trust you are here to help, not to harm. Show me your skill quickly. The ship's damage cannot wait." Ethan nodded, suddenly aware of the gravity of the situation. He set to work immediately, examining the engines and scanning the damaged coolant lines. Sparks flew as he adjusted panels, and he muttered calculations to himself, thinking faster than he had in a long time. He felt alive. Working on alien machinery was harder than anything he had done on human ships, but he loved the challenge. Every problem had a solution, it was just a matter of finding it. The alien watched him silently. Her name was Captain Lyra, though she didn't introduce herself yet. She had seen many humans, and most of them were clumsy, frightened, or uninterested in alien technology. Ethan was different. He moved with confidence and focus, treating her ship as if it were his own. He had a rare gift, and she could recognize it instantly. Minutes passed, and the initial tension began to fade. Ethan wiped his hands on a rag and glanced up. "The coolant line was bent here," he said, pointing to a twisted pipe. "I can fix it, but I'll need to replace this connector. Do you have spares?" Lyra studied him carefully, then nodded. "I trust your judgment. Take what you need." Ethan smiled faintly. He appreciated the trust. Many humans would have panicked under her scrutiny, but he welcomed it. He removed a connector from his bag of tools and replaced the damaged part. He tightened screws, sealed valves, and ran a diagnostic. The ship's systems hummed more smoothly than before. For the first time, Lyra relaxed slightly. "Impressive," she said, her tone neutral but tinged with surprise. "Few humans can manage alien engineering without damaging it further. You may be more useful than I expected." Ethan chuckled, feeling a mix of pride and relief. "I just do what I can." Machines don't care about species. They only care about skill. Lyra tilted her head, studying him with a thoughtful gaze. There was something in this human, she realized, something unusual. Perhaps he was not just a mechanic. Perhaps he was someone who could rise to challenges no one else could. And Ethan, unaware of the significance of this encounter, continued working, focused entirely on the ship. Neither of them knew that this small moment would mark the beginning of a journey neither could have imagined. Ethan finished securing the coolant line and stepped back to inspect his work. The engine hummed steadily, and for a moment, the ship seemed calm. Yet he knew the calm was only temporary. The moment a ship like this was damaged, more problems were usually hidden inside the walls, waiting to appear. Captain Lyra watched him carefully. Her arms were crossed, and her posture was straight. She was a commander who had faced countless crises, yet she couldn't hide her curiosity. Humans rarely understood alien ships well, and fewer could repair them effectively. Ethan was doing both. "You understand alien engineering better than most," Lyra said, her voice still calm but firm. "How did you learn so quickly?" Ethan shrugged. "Experience. I've fixed enough ships to know that every problem has a pattern. If you pay attention, machines tell you what's wrong. It's not magic. It's observation." Lyra's eyes narrowed slightly. "Observation is only one part. Others damage more than they fix." "I'll make sure that's not me," Ethan replied with quiet confidence. He opened a panel near the engine's core and ran his hand along the wires. Something didn't feel right. Sparks flickered along a bundle of cables. He frowned. "This line, it's not just broken. Someone tampered with it," he muttered. Lyra stepped closer, her curiosity now mixed with concern. "Tampered?" she asked. "Yes," Ethan said. "The damage wasn't an accident. The connections were cut and then forced back together. Whoever did this didn't want the ship to fly safely." Lyra's eyes widened. "Sabotage?" Ethan nodded. "Exactly. And if we don't find all the damaged areas, the ship could fail mid-flight." Lyra considered this. Trusting a human to repair a ship in this state was risky. She had seen many humans fail when faced with alien technology, even with simpler tasks. But Ethan's careful movements and steady hands reassured her. "Show me what you will do," she said, handing him a small scanner. "We must be thorough." Ethan took the device and began scanning every corridor, every panel, every hidden compartment. Each time the scanner beeped, he examined the area. He replaced faulty wires, secured weak joints, and patched hidden leaks. The ship slowly regained stability under his hands. While he worked, Lyra observed silently. She noticed how Ethan remained calm even when sparks flew near his hands or when a panel fell unexpectedly. He didn't panic. He didn't give up. He adapted. To her, this was remarkable. Humans were small and fragile compared to her species, but Ethan's courage and determination were larger than anyone else she had met. After a while, Ethan paused and wiped sweat from his forehead. "There's more damage inside the hull than I thought. I'll need to take a look at the cargo bay next. Some systems are connected there, and if I don't repair them, the ship will remain unstable." Lyra nodded slowly. "Very well. I will accompany you. The cargo bay is sensitive, and I need to ensure nothing else was sabotaged." As they moved through the ship, the corridors seemed quieter. The only sounds were Ethan's tools clicking and the faint hum of the engines. Lyra noticed that the ship, once intimidating, now felt alive under Ethan's care. His presence had a calming effect. Even the ship seemed to respond to his touch, systems stabilizing and energy flowing more smoothly. In the cargo bay, Ethan examined several containers and auxiliary systems. Some of these components are unfamiliar, he said. But the damage pattern is clear. Whoever did this wanted to hide their actions. They didn't want anyone to find out. Lyra frowned. This is worse than I feared. The saboteurs may still be near. They want our mission to fail before it even begins. Ethan looked at her, determination shining in his eyes. Then we'll make sure they don't succeed. I don't care if they're alien or human. If they try to stop this ship, I'll fix it again. And again. Until it's safe. Lyra studied him closely. She had faced many challenges, but she had never met a human with such fearless determination. She realized that, though small in size, Ethan's courage and skill could rival anyone she had encountered. For the first time, she felt something she had rarely felt around humans, respect. And perhaps, in some way, a cautious hope that this human mechanic could be the key to saving her ship and her crew. Ethan carefully moved through the narrow corridors of the ship, carrying a small toolkit and a portable scanner. Captain Lyra followed closely, her eyes scanning every shadow. The ship was quiet now, but the air felt tense. Someone had tampered with it, and Lyra did not fully trust that the danger was over. You work fast, Lyra said finally. Her tone was calm, but there was a hint of curiosity. Most humans would be nervous in these halls. They would break more than they repair. Ethan smiled faintly. I've learned that staying calm is the only way to fix problems. Panicking never helps. He knelt beside a damaged power conduit and carefully traced its wires. Sparks flickered, but he did not flinch. His hands moved with precision as he connected wires and secured panels. Lyra watched him carefully, noting how he handled the alien technology with respect and skill. She had seen many humans, but few could navigate a ship like this without mistakes. There was something about Ethan's calm determination that made her hesitate to doubt him. Suddenly, the scanner beeped loudly. Ethan's brow furrowed. There's an irregular signal coming from the auxiliary engine, he said. It looks like someone tried to override the system. If it fails in flight, we could lose control. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Saboteurs again. I hoped they had left, but it seems they are still nearby. Ethan nodded. Then we need to make sure the system is secure before anyone tries anything else. I can fix it, but I'll need access to the control panel directly. It's in a tight space, and I'll have to work quickly. I will let you, Lyra said, stepping aside. But I stay near. If something goes wrong, I must intervene immediately. Ethan slid into the small maintenance tunnel that led to the control panel. He worked carefully, analyzing circuits, testing connections, and rerouting energy flow. The alien ship systems were complex, but he treated them like a puzzle. Every wire, every valve had a place, and he was determined to find it. As he worked, Lyra watched silently. She noticed the calmness in his movements, the way he anticipated problems before they happened. A sense of respect grew within her. Humans were often underestimated, but Ethan was proving that skill, courage, and focus could outweigh size and strength. A sudden alarm blared. Sparks flew from a nearby panel, and a small fire ignited. Lyra reacted immediately, ready to intervene, but Ethan did not panic. He grabbed a nearby fire suppressant and carefully extinguished the flames. It's safe now, he said, breathing evenly. The system is stable, and I've rerouted the energy to prevent further failure. Lyra exhaled slowly, impressed. You are fearless, she said. Most humans would have retreated. I feared you might panic or worsen the situation. Ethan smiled. Fear doesn't fix machines. Focus does. He climbed out of the tunnel and wiped sweat from his forehead. The engine should work now. Any further attempts to sabotage it will fail. Lyra nodded, still studying him. She realized that trust was earned in moments like this. A human who could remain calm under pressure, who could think quickly and act decisively, was more valuable than she had ever imagined. Ethan, she said finally, you have shown skill, bravery, and calm under pressure. This ship and its crew are lucky to have you. Ethan shook his head. I'm just a mechanic. I do what I can to fix things. The ship is yours, and it deserves to fly safely. Lyra studied him for a moment longer. There was honesty in his words, a sense of responsibility that went beyond mere duty. She felt a rare confidence in a human, something she had never felt before. Perhaps he could be trusted not only with repairs but also with greater challenges ahead. As they continued their inspection of the ship, Ethan remained focused on his work, checking panels, scanning systems, and repairing minor faults. Lyra walked beside him, silently acknowledging the growing trust between them. For both of them, the bond of respect was forming, one built on skill, courage, and determination. Though the threat of sabotage still lingered, Lyra felt a small sense of hope. Perhaps this human mechanic was exactly what they needed to survive the dangers ahead. And Ethan, unaware of how important he had become, continued his work with quiet confidence, proving that humans could achieve greatness even in the most alien and challenging situations. The ship glided silently through the docking bay, its engines now humming steadily under Ethan's careful repair. Captain Lyra walked beside him, scanning every corridor and panel with vigilance. Though the immediate damage was fixed, she could not shake the feeling that danger still lingered. Ethan was focused on a small control panel when the alarm blared suddenly. Red lights flashed, and the ship shook violently. Lyra grabbed his arm instinctively. They're here, she shouted. The saboteurs have returned. Ethan's heart raced, but he kept his hands steady. He had faced technical challenges before, but this was different. Now, he wasn't just repairing machines, he had to protect lives. Stay calm, he said firmly. We can handle this. The corridor outside the engine room filled with strange shadows. Figures darted across the walls, trying to disable the ship's systems. Sparks flew as they tampered with wiring and panels. Lyra drew her weapon, but Ethan did not move back. Instead, he grabbed a nearby toolkit and moved toward the nearest damaged conduit. One of the saboteurs lunged at a critical panel. Ethan's instincts kicked in. He reached out and yanked the panel closed just in time, stopping a chain reaction that could have disabled the engines. Sparks flew around his hands, but he didn't flinch. The alien crew looked on in amazement as the humans' calm, quick actions prevented disaster. Lyra ran beside him. You are fearless, she shouted over the alarms. Most humans would have frozen. Ethan gritted his teeth and worked even faster. He rerouted energy through a secondary system and tightened loose circuits. Machines don't panic, he yelled. They work if you stay focused. The saboteurs tried again, attacking the control room. Lyra blocked them while Ethan crawled through a maintenance tunnel, moving toward the central engine core. He crawled over hot pipes and dodged falling panels, repairing connections as he went. Every second counted. If the core failed, the entire ship could be lost. When he reached the engine, he quickly assessed the damage. A wire had been cut and forced back into place. He carefully removed it, twisted a new connector, and secured the system. The engine roared back to life, steady and strong. The saboteurs hesitated, realizing that their sabotage had failed. Lyra looked at him in awe. "You've saved the ship," she said, her voice calm but filled with respect. "Your courage and skill. I underestimated you." Ethan shook his head, focusing on securing the remaining panels. "I didn't do it alone. The ship tells you what it needs. You just have to listen and act." The saboteurs retreated, their plan foiled. The crew cheered quietly, relief filling the corridors. Lyra's eyes softened as she watched Ethan climb out of the engine core, his hands blackened with grease and sparks. She realized that humans were small, fragile, and underestimated by many species, but courage, skill, and determination could make them powerful beyond measure. "Ethan," she said, approaching him carefully, "you've shown more bravery than most of my own crew. I see now that humans can rise to challenges no one expects them to face." Ethan wiped his hands and smiled faintly. "I'm just a mechanic. I fix problems, one step at a time. But I won't let anyone destroy this ship while I can stop them." Lyra nodded slowly, understanding that his courage was not loud or boastful, it was steady, quiet, and effective. It was the kind of courage that inspired trust and earned respect. As the alarm subsided and the lights returned to normal, the ship's corridors felt calmer. The threat had passed, at least for now, but Lyra knew that more challenges were ahead. She also knew that with Ethan by her side, there was a chance to face whatever came next. The crew gathered around, murmuring praise for the human who had risked himself to save the ship. Ethan remained focused, checking systems and making small adjustments. He didn't seek glory, but his actions spoke louder than words. Lyra finally approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You've earned my trust," she said quietly. "And perhaps something more. You have shown what humans can do when faced with impossible odds." Ethan looked at her, his expression humble but determined. "I'll do my best. That's all anyone can do." For the first time, Lyra felt that humans were not just fragile creatures, they were capable of greatness, courage, and ingenuity that could turn the tide of any battle. And she realized that this mechanic, this human, had already begun to change her perception of their kind forever. The ship was repaired enough to leave the docking bay, but Captain Lyra knew the mission was far from over. The saboteurs were still out there, hiding among trade routes and asteroid belts. She turned to Ethan, who was checking the engine output one last time. "You've done an incredible job," Lyra said. "But now we must find the ones who tried to destroy my ship. I want you to come with me." Ethan blinked. "You mean, fly with you into danger?" Lyra nodded. "Yes. I don't usually allow humans on missions like this. But I trust you now. Your skills could make the difference between success and disaster." Ethan tightened his grip on his toolkit. He had faced damaged engines and sabotage before, but this would be the first time he faced an active enemy in space. Still, he felt ready. "Then I'll go. We won't fail." The ship left the station, gliding into the vast darkness of space. Stars shimmered around them as they followed the trajectory Lyra had plotted. Ethan spent the time inspecting controls and minor systems, making small improvements. He adjusted energy flows and reinforced auxiliary circuits using tools he had modified for alien technology. Lyra watched in silence, impressed that a human could improve systems she had thought were perfect. Hours passed, and the quiet of space was interrupted only by the hum of engines and the occasional beep of the navigation system. Lyra studied the human beside her. His focus never wavered, even in the tension of an unknown threat. "You are patient," she said finally. "Most humans would grow restless in space." Ethan shrugged. "Patience and focus are important when the stakes are high. One wrong move, and the ship could fail. I've learned that mistakes are expensive." Suddenly, the scanner beeped loudly. Ethan's eyes widened. Movement detected ahead. Small ships, approaching fast. Lyra's hand went to her weapon controls. "Saboteurs," she said. "They must have followed us." Ethan quickly assessed the situation. He tapped into the ship's auxiliary systems and rerouted energy to the shields. "I can reinforce the hull temporarily. It won't last long, but it will buy us time to act." Lyra nodded. "Do it. I'll maneuver the ship for evasive action." Working together, the human and the alien combined their skills. Ethan adjusted energy flows, monitored shields, and repaired minor faults in real time, while Lyra piloted with precision. The small saboteur ships fired, but each shot bounced harmlessly off the reinforced shields. The alien crew began to whisper among themselves, amazed at the humans' calm in the face of attack. Ethan remained composed, moving between panels and consoles, making tiny adjustments that made a huge difference. His improvisation turned the tide, allowing the ship to avoid damage and stay on course. Lyra finally allowed herself a small smile. "You are more than a mechanic, Ethan. Your creativity and skill could save many lives." "I underestimated humans before." Ethan shook his head. "I'm just doing my job." "But thanks." He didn't boast. He simply continued adjusting systems, focused entirely on the mission. As the saboteur ships fell behind, retreating for now, Ethan leaned back and exhaled. Lyra looked at him with a new respect. "Your presence on this mission changes everything. I see now that humans, though small, can be decisive in ways I never imagined." Ethan smiled faintly. "We find ways to survive. We adapt. That's all." Lyra studied him thoughtfully. She had fought many battles and commanded many crews, but she had never seen such fearless determination in someone so different from her own kind. Perhaps humans had abilities that went beyond physical strength. Perhaps courage, ingenuity, and steady focus were qualities that could shape the galaxy in ways no one expected. The ship continued its journey through space, the stars stretching endlessly ahead. Both human and alien worked together, learning from each other, trusting each other, and facing danger as a team. The saboteurs were still out there, but with Ethan's skill and Lyra's command, the mission now had hope. For Ethan, it was more than just fixing a ship. It was proof that humans could rise to challenges that others thought impossible. And for Lyra, it was proof that trusting humans could sometimes lead to extraordinary results. The saboteur ships had regrouped, and now the danger was immediate. Red lights flashed across the bridge, and alarms blared. Captain Lyra gripped the controls tightly, steering the ship through evasive maneuvers while directing her crew to defensive positions. Ethan stood at the auxiliary panel, scanning the systems. His heart raced, but his hands remained steady. The ship had taken damage again, and some critical systems were failing. The engines sputtered, shields weakened, and vital conduits sparked dangerously. "Ethan!" Lyra shouted over the noise. "If the engines fail, we can't escape." Ethan nodded. "I see it. I can fix it, but I'll have to go into the engine core while the battle continues. It's risky, but it's our only chance. Lyra studied him, her eyes narrowing. Do you understand the danger? One mistake, and you could be trapped inside the core during an attack. I understand, Ethan replied firmly. I don't have a choice. The ship has to survive. Without hesitation, he crawled into the narrow maintenance tunnel leading to the engine core. Heat radiated from the pipes, sparks flew from damaged panels, and the vibrations from the battle shook the floor beneath him. Still, he worked quickly, removing damaged wires and reconnecting power conduits with careful precision. Each connection he repaired stabilized a section of the ship. Lyra's voice came through the intercom. Ethan, the saboteurs are trying to breach the hull. Can the shields hold? Yes, Ethan answered, his hands moving quickly. But only if I reroute more power to the core. I need 10 more minutes. Minutes felt like hours as Ethan worked, crawling over hot panels, twisting wires, and replacing blown fuses. Sweat dripped from his forehead, but he did not stop. His mind was entirely focused on one goal: keep the ship alive. Above him, Lyra piloted the vessel with skillful precision, dodging enemy fire and directing her crew to hold their positions. She glanced at the scanner and saw the readings stabilize slightly. Ethan's work was paying off. A particularly heavy barrage shook the ship, and a section of the hull groaned. Ethan gritted his teeth and moved faster. Sparks flew dangerously close, but he ignored the heat. Every repaired panel, every secured wire brought the ship closer to safety. Finally, he reached the main conduit, the heart of the engine core. He carefully removed the last damaged connection and replaced it with a new one he had crafted from spare parts. The engines roared to life, stronger than before, and the shields stabilized. Engine core stable, Ethan called through the intercom. We're back to full power. Lyra allowed herself a small smile. Well done, Ethan. The ship is holding. Your skill saved us. The saboteurs, seeing their attacks fail repeatedly, began to retreat. Lyra pursued them just long enough to ensure they would not return, then guided the ship back into safer space. The crew cheered quietly, relief and admiration filling the corridors. Ethan climbed out of the engine core, his hands blackened with grease and sparks. He wiped his forehead and looked around. Lyra approached him, her eyes soft but filled with respect. You've done more than repair a ship, she said. You've inspired the crew. You've shown bravery and ingenuity that I never thought a human could possess. Ethan shook his head. I just did what needed to be done. The ship is what matters, and so is keeping everyone safe. That's all. Lyra studied him, realizing that humans were often underestimated. Small, fragile, and overlooked, yet capable of incredible courage and intelligence when the situation demanded it. Ethan had proven that in a way no one could ignore. For the crew, he was more than a mechanic now. He was a hero, a problem solver who had faced impossible odds and come out victorious. And for Lyra, he was someone she could trust completely, not only with her ship but with her life. As the alarms quieted and the ship stabilized, a new understanding formed between human and alien. They had faced danger together and survived, each relying on the other's strength. For Ethan, it was a confirmation that humans could rise to challenges no one expected. For Lyra, it was proof that trusting humans could lead to extraordinary results. The stars stretched ahead, silent and endless. Both human and alien knew that while the battle had been won, the journey was far from over. And together, they would face whatever challenges awaited them in the vastness of space. The battle was over. The saboteur ships had retreated, and the ship hummed steadily under its restored systems. Captain Lyra walked through the corridors, her steps careful but confident. She looked at Ethan, who was finishing final checks on the auxiliary panels. "You've done more than I ever expected," she said quietly. "Your skills, your courage, they have saved us all." Ethan shook his head, smiling faintly. "I'm just a mechanic. I fix problems. That's all anyone can do." Lyra studied him closely, realizing that his humility was as impressive as his skill. "You underestimate yourself, human. You have shown that courage and ingenuity can change outcomes that no one else could manage." The crew gathered in the central hall, murmuring quietly about the human who had worked tirelessly, even in the heat of battle. They had seen him crawl through the engine core while sparks flew, reroute energy during attacks, and repair critical systems under pressure. For them, he was more than a mechanic, he was a symbol of determination and hope. One of the senior alien engineers approached Ethan. "I doubted humans before," he said, his tone respectful. "But you have proven that intelligence and courage are not measured by size or strength. You are a hero in our eyes." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest, not from pride, but from knowing that his work had mattered. He had always believed that humans could do more than others expected, but hearing it recognized by others, especially aliens, was a new experience. Lyra walked beside him. "The ship is safe, and the crew is unharmed. All because of you. I must admit, I never thought a human could inspire confidence in a crew like this. But you have done it effortlessly." Ethan chuckled softly. "I just did what had to be done. I can't take more credit than that." She smiled faintly. "Perhaps not. But actions speak louder than words. You have earned your place here not only as a mechanic but as someone who can face impossible odds and succeed." The human crew members exchanged glances, proud of their companion. They had never seen a human handle such dangerous situations with skill and calm. It was clear to everyone that he had become an essential part of the ship's crew, and perhaps even its heart. Lyra paused and looked at Ethan. "There is something I must say. Humans are often underestimated by my people. You have shown that determination, intelligence, and courage are more important than size or strength. You remind us that every species has qualities others may overlook." Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "I've always believed that. Humans adapt, we learn, we find solutions when others think it's impossible. That's all I know." Lyra's expression softened. "And that is enough to make a difference. Enough to turn danger into survival, failure into success." The ship glided silently through space, now free from immediate threats. The stars stretched endlessly outside, reflecting the calm after the storm. Ethan worked quietly, making final adjustments, ensuring every system ran smoothly. Lyra stood beside him, silently watching, recognizing the rare combination of skill, courage, and humility that he possessed. Finally, she spoke. "Ethan, you have shown us all what humans are capable of. You are more than a mechanic. You are a hero, a problem solver, and someone we can trust completely." Ethan looked at her, a small smile on his face. "I'm just doing my part. That's all anyone can do." But Lyra knew better. She saw a human who had risen to challenges that no one thought possible, someone who had earned the respect of an entire crew and the admiration of an alien captain. He had shown that humans, though often underestimated, could be brave, clever, and indispensable in the most dangerous situations. As the ship sailed onward, safe and whole, Ethan and Lyra walked through the corridors together. The bond of trust and respect between them was clear. Humans might seem small to some, fragile to others, but Ethan had proven that courage, determination, and skill could make them greater than anyone imagined. For Ethan, it was not about recognition or glory. It was about fixing what was broken, protecting those who could not protect themselves, and proving that humans could rise to any challenge. For Lyra and her crew, it was a lesson they would not forget: never underestimate the potential of a human. And in the quiet hum of the ship's engines, a new journey awaited them, one where human ingenuity and alien skill would work together to face whatever the universe could throw their way.